Watch Transit TV right now.
I'm Tochku Michael. Keep watching Transit TV.
You know what I mean about Brentford? I remember the game against Manchester City. Pep said something. He said that Thomas Frank is one of the best. In fact, he's world class. One of the best coaches in EPL. And honestly, being an Arsenal fan for me, and I remember our experience with them 2 or 3 seasons ago, where they
I remember that
at the beginning of the season. Yeah, I'm always anxious when we're going to play against Brentford. They always give you good and difficult games. If you're going to win them, you have to really. Yeah, and the next there is City. It is good. Let's just touch base them before we go to the Chelsea game. Manchester City has also been a bit funny. The thing that people used to criticize Arsenal about in the past, City have been doing it. In fact, I don't think they have kept since the beginning of last season. They've not kept more than 4 clean sheets in the league. And I don't know. Okay, somehow they still managed to win this league. Is that a worry? Should that be a worry? Because it's looking like more and more that teams are being able to get at City and get goals.
Yeah.
Like they mentioned against us now. Do you think that very soon it's going to be difficult for City to come back from considering this goal? Like Fulham has so many chances to win their game last weekend.
Yeah. After the game against Fulham, Pep Guardiola said that they won that game only at the mercy of Adama Traore. Because, it was Adama Traore's profligacy that made Manchester City win that game. He had 3 different sitters and he missed them all. You ask what exactly is wrong with City, because, it is just Rodri who is absent from the team. It is just Rodri. It's not like the entire team is injured. Or you now begin to wonder, has this team been built around Rodri and we did not know all this while? Now, I think it just goes down to tell you how integral Rodri has been to the squad. And his absence will definitely be felt. Last season, they never lost a game when Rodri played. And this season, in the absence of Rodri, they still haven't lost, but they have been struggling. Now, see the way they struggled against Newcastle United, they played a draw. And against Fulham, they struggled as well. And they played, they won by just a lone goal. It was a 3-2 win, but the goal difference was just 1. Now, Kovacic has not been known for his goal scoring, abilities. But yesterday, over the weekend, he turned the goal scorer. He scored twice. I think, one thing I would.
Sorry, guys, I have to run.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you very much. Yeah, I was no problem. Thanks, bro.
Back to what we were saying. Going forward, I think one thing I've always known Pep Guardiola for is that he will always come up with a solution to every problem. Yes, we remember when they had only Kun Aguero as their striker, and Aguero got injured, and they had no striker to play, and they needed to win the league. He started using Raheem Sterling as the first 9. At the point, they even used Phil Foden as a first 9. Anyone could play as a first 9 for him. Even at Barcelona, we saw when he used Cesc Fabregas as the first 9.
Yeah.
So this situation now, we have seen how he's trying to utilize Rico Lewis in that Rodri's position and, blend him with Kovacic. And I think Kovacic is, gradually getting into the group. So I think any team that can beat Manchester City is vulnerable right now. They are vulnerable. But any team that will beat Manchester City has to do it right now. Because believe me, Pep Guardiola will find a solution.
Yes,
and after that game against Fulham, he said, thank God it is international break now. I'll have to go back and think about a solution to the problem we have. And Pep Guardiola, he will deploy all means to make sure that loophole is covered, because right now Manchester City, their defense is very, very shaky. Anyone can score against them. I can remember that game against Ipswich Town before 10 minutes they already conceded. And I was like, is this really Manchester City? And this problem did not just start this season. It's like
since last season. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They've not kept more than 4 clean sheets.
I think the problem is not even much about Rodri. I think it is the Manchester City midfield and their defense not being so solid. And I think the best time as Manchester City had the best defense was that season they won the Champions League. The season they won the treble, and they won the treble. What's this Netherlands guy's name? Nathan Ake. Nathan Ake was a regular in the team. John Stones was as well a regular in the team. Last season, John Stones struggled with injury. Nathan Ake struggled with injury. So the both of them didn't really play so much games last season. This season, Ake is injured. Stones is not so fit. He's been in and out of the team. So I think, there have been some, personnel that the team used to have that they no longer have. And there's that, transcends to the reason why they are struggling defensively. Manchester City are only winning games because they outscore their opponent. If they do not have some prolific players up front who are always getting them the goals, the likes of Erling Haaland, and you are looking for goal, you look at Bernardo Silva. If he's not scoring, he's providing. That's what you get from Bernardo Silva. And the creativity is there in the midfield. The only reason Manchester City are winning games right now is because they have quality players all around the pitch. But do they have a problem defensively? The answer is yes. Will they solve that problem? I think also the answer is yes. But when will they solve it? I do not know.
Yeah, for me, I kind of differ a little bit. They might not be able to solve it right now. I have two reasons why I think this is the problem. First of all, the quality of player that City has right now, especially in front. You cannot compare a Doku to a Ryan Mahrez. You can't compare who do they have in the left now to when you had David Silva Fabinho and David Silva when they had them there. And three years ago, player like KDB had the engine to be in the attack and also help defensively. So in front now, they don't have those players who opponents are very, very scared of to leave behind and come forward. So now opponents are having more confidence to attack City. That's one, because their front is not as dangerous as it used to be. Yes, you have Haaland. You remember teams like Arsenal and Newcastle, they have two strong defenders who can hold on to Haaland. They don't worry about their wings before. Or like before, remember him starting to be running out on the left side, and Mahrez is running right on the other side. Mahrez, if you give him a chance, he will take it. But Doku would have all the trickery, but he never really has end product. I think he's going to done 4 goals since he joined City, and maybe about 4 or 5 assists for a whole season and a half. I don't think that's enough for the kind of talent that he has. Then secondly, I also believe, like you mentioned it there, I believe that City in the last 2 seasons, or maybe even going to 3 seasons now, minus Nathan Ake, they don't really have defenders who are proper one-on-one defenders. They have defenders who defend zonally. If you catch them one-on-one, they don't really want to do it. So because they're not getting enough help from the front players, like I said, KDB used to play in the midfield, but he also had the engine to always run back to Arsenal. The way Arsenal is playing right now, the Arsenal players, once they lose the ball, everybody comes back. Now, City have to rely on their defenders to do the defensive side of things, which is the reason why I think Pep went to playing 4 flat center defenders to be stronger. And still, the season that he did it, they even considered more goals because those defenders, minus Ake, like you mentioned, Guardiola, Diaz, and of course, what's his name? Kai Walker, his pace used to help him before. He's getting older. This defender, I don't think Walker in his prime, yes, was good in one-on-one. But these other guys, Akonji, I don't think he's a proper one-on-one defender, but they can defend zonal because they can play football. So they have their brain to use the spaces to defend. But when you are able to play to the midfield and catch them one-on-one with strikers, I think those defenders, they struggle. So it's a matter of personnel. Pep, yes, he's a genius. We know he always finds solutions, but this one has lasted too long. Normally, it doesn't take him 2-3 weeks to figure it out and he will fix it. Since last season, City have struggled to keep clean sheet, even against relegation teams.
Yes.
Yeah, they win against.
I think one problem Pep Guardiola has always had is he overthinks things. Some things are meant to just remain simple, but Pep Guardiola will always overthink them because he's a perfectionist. He always wants his team to be the best. So he has the good sides and also the bad sides. So, but Manchester City right now, they are in a problem, but not so much of a big problem, because Kevin De Bruyne will be back from injury soon after the international break. He should be back with the team, and believe me, when he returns. And there is also a reason Manchester City went back to Barcelona to bring Ilkay Gundogan back to the squad, because now the only thing Manchester City is lacking right now is a defined defensive midfielder. If they have a defensive midfielder and they pair that defensive midfielder with Ilkay Gundogan, even though Ilkay Gundogan is now old and he's slow, you pair him with Kovacic or whoever, I think they will find it. They will definitely find a solution. So
Yeah,
you know,
but what
I agree with
what I'm
everything you were
discussing here
saying.
is that even when Rodri was playing, they are conceding
Yes,
goals. They were just
even when
winning
Rodri
they
was
were just
playing.
winning the games.
Yeah, you know, I think, you know, Man City, one thing with whole playing a possession-based football is that you tend to stay very high up the pitch,
Of course,
and
definitely.
your defenders tend to join the attack at will. So when teams who have fast wingers and fast attackers get the ball, they turn to run at you. You know, and Manchester City has never been the team to pack the bus against anyone. So I think going forward, teams will still be scoring against Manchester City. But just like I said earlier, it's always going to be who outscores who. And because they are holding on to the possession, you're not going to get too many chances to score. So basically, what's been happening is that the little chances their opponents are getting, they've been converting. They've been converting. If we trace it back to when Pep Guardiola was in Barcelona, this was still the same story. Barcelona will come high up the pitch and, you know, they will easily concede goals. A lot of people thought Victor Valdes was such a terrible goalkeeper because he's always conceding. But Valdes is not such a terrible goalkeeper. It's just about the style of play that Guardiola plays, the possession-based football. And when the opponents are attacking, you know, when the opponents are attacking the team, you see that the opponent knows exactly what they want to do, and they are hitting on fast breaks. So I think it's still the same problem he has brought to Manchester City, but it is not such a big problem because he's still winning. He's still winning. Who cares about clean sheets if you win the game?
Exactly. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's true though. There was before we talk about Chelsea, let us touch base quickly with Brentford. Brentford has been an interesting team to look at this season. Out of the 7 games they've played, I think they've won about 4, lost 2, and drawn 1. And they had a very high score game last weekend against Wolves, 5-3. I don't know what have you made about Brentford. I remember the game against Manchester City. Pep said something. He said that Thomas Frank is one of the best. In fact, he's world class. One of the best coaches in EPL. And honestly, being an Arsenal fan for me, and I remember our experience with them 2 or 3 seasons ago, where they
I remember that
at the beginning of the season. Yeah, I'm always anxious when I'm going to play against Brentford. They always give you good and difficult games. If you're going to win them, you have to really tinker it properly. So what have you been about Brentford and Thomas Frank?
You know, I will start by saying I doff my cap for Thomas Frank. Big ups there, because going into the season, no one really gave them so much chance. At the point I was even putting them amongst the teams that would struggle against relegation waters this season. But they have started the season in a fairly bright manner. I'll call it fairly bright manner because they have won games they are supposed to win, and they have actually lost the ones they are supposed to lose. I think one of the games they lost was against Liverpool, and and then against Man City. That's the 2 games they've lost, against Liverpool and against Man City. In such games, you do not give them so much of the chance, but they always gave themselves the chance. They scored against Liverpool, they scored against Man City, and Liverpool and Man City, being top class teams, still found a way to come back into the game and win the game. But first of all, this season started. They sold Ivan Toney.
Yes.
They lost Ivan Toney to the Saudi Pro League. We all thought they were going to struggle to find goals because we know that Ivan Toney was always the number 1 source for goals for Brentford. Now, it became Johan Wissa who stepped up to give them the goals. Johan Wissa and Brian Mbeumo were getting the goals, and Wissa scored in 3 consecutive games. He got injured. I was sad for them because at that point I was enjoying the games. I was enjoying everything they were doing. I thought this is where their struggle starts. But now, Brian Mbeumo has stepped up to the game alongside this one they got from Liverpool, Fabio Carvalho. And this other guy, Lewis Potter. Yeah. Now, you ask yourself, what exactly is Frank Thomas telling these boys? Why are they doing the unthinkable? Because the one thing that is riding for them is that the very first minute of every game, they
scored in the first 2 minutes of the game in 3 games now, or 4 games now. 4 games now. Yeah.
In 3 consecutive games, it is in the first minute of the game, and then the 4th one they scored in the 2nd minute of the game. And you're asking what kind of mentality is this? How are they attacking at the sound of the whistle of the game? And
I think they did that to Arsenal last season as well.
Yes, they did. This season they did it to Man City. They've done it to 4 different teams. And you look at all of this. one thing that always right for teams is that you always want to start on the front foot. It is easier when you start on the front foot
Exactly.
because you know you are high, your confidence
Your
goes
tempo,
very high.
yeah.
Yes, and your tempo as well. You know, okay, if I can get a goal in the first minute of the game, I can get more goals in this game. So Brentford is actually the team to watch out for this season. Now, imagine when Johan Wissa is fit and he's back with the squad and they're playing. I think Thomas Frank, you know, I'm no longer surprised that when Chelsea sacked, not sacked though, when Chelsea parted ways with Mauricio Pochettino, Thomas Frank was in the talks for, you know, becoming the new head coach of Chelsea. So I'm no longer surprised because
even now United. Even United to
yes,
starting for
even
United.
So, you know, I think right now I have to say, I'm sorry, Thomas, I was not used to your game. But right now I am used to his game.
Yeah, but let me
So I
ask
think
you an interesting question about that. Do you think, you know, sometimes, like I said earlier about Crystal Palace, sometimes coaches stumble into things, or in life generally, life, you know, throws something at you that you wouldn't really figure out when it's happened, but in future you say, thank God this happened in the past. Maybe the drug ban on Ivan Toney helped them to prepare for it, because before Brentford was all about Ivan Toney. He was the only one getting the goals for them.
Yes,
you know, they built a team around him. So once he got that ban, they had to survive without him. So even when he came back, he only contributed 4 goals to the end of the season for them, and they still stayed up. I think they made top 10. So do you think maybe that was a period that Thomas Frank maybe used to evaluate the squad and work? Because even when Anthony came back, they resigned to losing him. They were prepared to lose him. So it wasn't a struggle to let him go. It was all about just making the most they can make in terms of money, you know, for himself.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. I think, you know, that 8 months ban for Ivan Toney was it was a time for them to prepare for life after Toney. And even though when he came back, he was still playing. He contributed to about 4 goals in his first few games, and then he went back. He lost his form, and then when he lost the form, they were still playing. They were still winning games. They were still scoring goals. Now the question was, where was the goals coming from? It was coming from those players who were playing in his absence. Exactly. I think that was when Brian Mbeumo, you know, learned that he's now the man of the team, and he stepped up to the occasion. He knew what it meant to carry the team on his shoulder, and he has been doing a brilliant job. I think I'm particularly happy for Brian Mbeumo. I was sad for him that he did not play at the AFCON because he was injured. But Johan Wissa, he came to the AFCON. He also showed what he could do at international stage, so that no one thinks that he is a system player, that he's only excelling at Brentford because it is the system they use there. We also saw what he did with DR Congo. He still came back to Brentford, and he's still doing it. He came into this season with playing very fine, scoring 3 goals in 3 consecutive games, and then he got injured. So now, when he comes back, and that you know, partnership with Brian Mbeumo is already there, with the likes of Fabio Carvalho now coming in, and Lewis Potter Harris also in the squad and giving them exactly what they need. I think, you know, Brentford is a team that would definitely we'll all be watching out for.
Exactly. I will have to really put an eye on Brentford this season. They're really looking well, and like you said, I doff my cap for Thomas Frank. He has been consistent in this league. He brought this. He's been in
unrelated though. But Brentford's next game is Manchester United.
Well, I don't think any United fan will want that right now, because that team, the way the Brentford is playing, the number of goals they are scoring, and not losing to anybody that's not in top 4 or top 5. I don't know how that was going to pan out, but we'll wait and see. You know, United is a team that is always they always find a way when their coach is about to be sacked. So let's see how that was going to pan out. So.